I stood frozen, outside my father's study, my hand halfway to the doorknob when I heard his voice cut through the silence. "Don't worry, son. We'll make your sister pay for everything. She's got that trust fund from Grandma just sitting there." My brother laughed. "What if she says no?" Dad's response made my blood run cold. "She won't have a choice. Well, tell her it's for family. And if that doesn't work, well, take it anyway. We're on all her accounts." I pulled my hand back from the door like it had burned me. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my throat. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what I'd just heard. These were my parents, my father, my brother Tyler, and they were sitting in that study right now, casually planning to steal from me like I was some mark in a con game. I backed away slowly, careful not to make the floorboards creak. My childhood home suddenly felt like enemy territory. Every family photo on the hallway walls seemed to mock me. Look at us. So happy, so normal. What a lie. I made it to my old bedroom and closed the door with shaking hands. The room looked exactly like it had when I left for college 11 years ago. Same floral bedspread Mom had picked out. Same desk where I'd studied for the SATs. Same window where I'd dreamed about my future, never imagining it would include this moment. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. My hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped it twice. This couldn't be real. Maybe I'd misheard. Maybe there was some explanation. But I knew better. It heard exactly what it heard. I opened my banking app with fingers that felt numb. My checking account appeared first. Balance: $12,347. I'd been saving aggressively, living below my means in my one-bedroom apartment 3 states away. I tapped on the account details, and my stomach dropped. Joint account holders: Kara Whitmore, David Whitmore, Susan Whitmore, my parents, both of them, listed right there with full access to my money. I'd opened this account when I turned 18, and Mom had insisted on being added just in case of emergencies. Dad had been added a year later when I needed him to deposit a check for me while I was studying abroad. I'd never removed them. Why would I? They were my parents. I'd trusted them. That trust felt like the most naive thing in the world right now. I checked my savings account next. $8,912. Same story. Dad was listed as a signer. Head helped me open it when I got my first real job. Said it was important to have someone who could access it if something happened to me. My investment account through work appeared clean. Just my name. Thank God. Then I navigated to the trust fund account, the one Grandma had left me when she passed 2 years ago. $50,000. Money Shed saved her entire life, working as a seamstress and living frugally. Shed split her estate between me and Tyler, but Shed left me extra in this private trust. I remembered the day her lawyer had read the will. Tyler had been furious, claiming it wasn't fair. Mom and Dad had made excuses, said Grandma must have been confused in her final years. But Grandma hadn't been confused at all. Shed pulled me aside 3 months before she died and told me something I'd never forgotten. "Kara, honey, I'm leaving you extra money, and I'm putting it somewhere your parents will help you set up but can't easily access. But listen to me carefully. When you get it, you move it somewhere that's only yours. Your folks love Tyler more, always have. They'll want to balance things out using your money. Don't let them." Id nodded, thinking she was being paranoid. My parents wouldn't do that. They loved both of us. Except now, sitting in my childhood bedroom, while they plotted my financial ruin downstairs, I realized Grandma had seen exactly who they were, and had been too blind to believe her. I checked the trust account details. Sure enough, Mom had helped me set it up and was listed as a joint holder for estate purposes, the banker had said. Mom had been so helpful, so caring, so calculated. I opened my laptop, hands still shaking. I needed to think. I needed to plan. I needed to not panic. But then I saw something that made panic feel entirely appropriate. I checked my email, looking for bank statements, and noticed our families shared cloud storage. Wed set it up years ago to share photos from holidays and birthdays. I rarely looked at it anymore, but there, in the main folder, was a document that hadn't been there last time I'd checked. The file name was simple: Email to Kara Draft. Doc. My mouse hovered over it. Did I want to know? Did I want to see how they planned to manipulate me? I clicked it. The document opened, and my mother's words filled the screen. It was dated for next Wednesday, 5 days from now. Dearest Kara, your brother is facing some financial difficulties through no fault of his own. As a family, we support each other. Your father and I have decided that you'll contribute $30,000 from your trust fund to help Tyler get back on his feet. We've already spoken to the bank, and since we're on your accounts, we can facilitate the transfer. This is what family does. We know you'll understand. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times. Each time, different phrases jumped out at me like knives, through no fault of his own. Tyler's entire life had been a series of bad decisions enabled by our parents. Head dropped out of 2 colleges. Head quit 4 jobs because they were beneath him. Head married Jenna and spent their entire savings on a failed restaurant venture, then blamed her when she left. We have decided, not asking, deciding for me, we can facilitate the transfer. Such polite language for theft. We know you'll understand. The gaslighting was already built in. If I objected, it'd be the unreasonable one. The selfish daughter who didn't care about family. I closed the laptop before I threw it across the room. My chest felt tight, like someone was sitting on it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to march downstairs and confront them right now. But something stopped me. Some instinct for self-preservation that cut through the anger and betrayal. If I confronted them now, they'd have time to act. They'd transfer the money before I could stop them. They'd come up with excuses, manipulations, ways to make me doubt myself. Dad was a retired insurance executive, smooth and persuasive. Mom was a master of emotional manipulation wrapped in sweetness. Tyler had years of practice playing the victim. He'd lose. They'd win. And I'd lose everything Grandma had tried to protect me with. No. I needed to be smarter than that. I needed to act tonight. Right now. While they thought I was just their compliant daughter, sleeping peacefully upstairs, with no idea what was coming, I glanced at the clock on my nightstand. 10:45. It heard them moving around earlier, but the house had gone quiet. They were probably getting ready for bed. Good. I needed them asleep. I waited, listening to the sounds of my parents' nighttime routine. Water running in their bathroom, doors closing, muffled voices. Then, finally, silence. At 11:30, I crept out of my room with my laptop, phone, and every important document I could find in my old desk. Birth certificate, social security card that Mom had kept safe for me, passport, all of it went into my bag. I made my way downstairs, avoiding the 3rd step that creaked, the floorboard near the bathroom that squeaked. Skills you learn growing up in a house, now being used to rob it, or to keep it from robbing me. Perspective mattered. The kitchen was dark. I got a glass of water for cover, in case anyone woke up, then sat at the table with my laptop. Deep breath. I could do this. I opened my laptop and stared at the screen, my glass of water sitting untouched beside me. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence. Every sound felt amplified, the refrigerator humming, the house settling. My own breathing. I pulled up a search for best banks for new accounts and started reading. I needed somewhere completely different, somewhere my parents had no connection to. Our family had banked at First National for 30 years. I needed the opposite of that. I found an online bank with good reviews, no physical branches, and the ability to open accounts immediately. Perfect. No way for my parents to charm a local banker they'd known for decades. Setting up the new account felt surreal. Typing in my information, creating security questions they couldn't possibly guess. The answers weren't my first pet's name or my mother's maiden name. They were random words only I would know. Security question. What was your favorite childhood toy? Real answer, a stuffed rabbit named Flopsy. My answer, thunderstorm. No one could social engineer that out of me. The account opened instantly. I downloaded the app, set up biometric login, and stared at the empty balance. $0. About to be a lot more. I switched to my old bank's website. My checking account stared back at me. $12,347. Money I'd earned, money I'd saved, money that was mine. I initiated a transfer, all of it, every single penny. The screen asked me to confirm. I hesitated for just a second. Was I overreacting? Was I being paranoid? Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe I should talk to them first. Then I remembered Dad's voice. If that doesn't work, well, take it anyway. I clicked confirm. Next, the savings account, $8,912. Gone. Transferred. The trust fund was trickier. Larger amount, more security protocols. I had to answer 3 security questions, then wait for a code to be texted to my phone. I watched the doorway while I waited, terrified I'd hear footsteps on the stairs. The code came through. I entered it. The transfer screen loaded. $50,000. Grandma's gift. Her protection. Her way of saying she saw me, even if my parents didn't. I moved every cent. Then I scheduled all 3 old accounts to be closed in 48 hours. The automated system confirmed. Account closure pending? Joint holders would be notified? Good. Let them be notified after the money was gone. I sat back in the kitchen chair, adrenaline making my hands shake. It just moved $70,259 in less than 20 minutes. Everything I had in the world, every bit of security I'd built, and I still wasn't done. I pulled up my credit report, something I'd been meaning to check for months. It loaded slowly, and what I saw made me feel sick all over again. There, among my 2 credit cards that I paid off monthly, was a 3rd card I'd never opened. Capital Freedom Rewards card, opened 4 years ago. Credit limit, $10,000. Current balance, $9,317. I clicked for details. The payment history showed minimum payments being made monthly. From my checking account. How had I not seen it? How had I been so blind? But I knew how. Because they were my parents, and you trust your parents. Because I was the good daughter who didn't cause problems. Because Tyler was always the one who needed help, and I was the one who had it together. So why would I be suspicious? The clock showed 1:15 in the morning. I needed to leave, needed to get out of this house. But I couldn't until morning without raising suspicion. I had to pretend everything was normal for a few more hours. I closed my laptop and picked up my water glass, ready to head back upstairs. That's when I heard it. The front door opening. Heavy footsteps. Tyler. I froze. He was supposed to be out for the night. Had mentioned something about meeting friends at dinner. It assumed he was staying out late, or maybe not coming home at all. But here he was, stumbling into the kitchen, clearly drunk. He flipped on the light and we both blinked at each other. Kara. He squinted at me. What are you doing up? Couldn't sleep, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Just getting some water. He grunted and headed for the refrigerator, pulling out a beer. His 3rd or 4th of the night, judging by the way he was swaying. I should have left. Should have said goodnight and gone upstairs. But he turned back to me, leaning against the counter with that entitled smirk I'd seen my whole life. Can't sleep. Huh? Me neither. He took a long drink. Hey, listen, Mom and Dad are going to talk to you this week. About helping me out. My grip tightened on my water glass. Oh, yeah. I know it's kind of a big ask, but I really need it, you know. He said it so casually, like asking for $20 instead of my life savings. Made some bad investments. And Jenna took everything in the divorce. just cleaned me out. Jenna hadn't cleaned him out. Tyler had gambled away their money on his restaurant dream, refused to get a real job, and blamed her when she finally got tired of supporting a man-child. I knew this because Jenna had called me, crying, 2 months before she left him. Shed asked if I could talk sense into him. Id tried. Head told me to mind my own business. That's tough, I said, not meaning it. Yeah, it is. He took another drink. But that's what family's for, right? Looking out for each other? You've always had it easy, never had real problems like I've had. So now it's time you helped out the family. You know, always had it easy. The words hit me like a slap. I'd worked 3 jobs in college. Tyler had dropped out twice, and my parents had paid his tuition both times. I'd bought my first car with my own money. Tyler had wrecked 2 cars that Dad had bought him, and Dad had bought him a third. I'd moved 3 states away for a better job opportunity. Tyler had lived at home until he was 30, paying no rent. But sure, I'd had it easy. Family's important. I agreed, my voice flat. Exactly. He smiled, relieved. Probably thought I was going to roll over without a fight. So when they ask, you'll help out, right? I mean, Dad told me you've got like 70 grand just sitting around doing nothing. That could change my life, Kara. Like, really change it. 70 grand, they'd counted. They knew exactly how much I had. They'd probably been planning this for months. That money's from Grandma? I said carefully. Yeah, I know. And she should have split it evenly. You know that wasn't fair. He was getting belligerent now, the way he always did when he drank. You already got the same inheritance I did, and then she gave you extra. That was wrong. You should share it. Be fair. Fair. He wanted to talk about fair. Tyler had lived rent-free at home for 12 years after high school. I'd paid my own rent since I was 19. If we calculated what that was worth, I'd bet it was a lot more than $50,000. But I didn't say any of that. I just watched him drink his beer and feel sorry for himself. This 32-year-old man who'd never taken responsibility for anything in his life. I'll think about it. I lied. Don't think too long. I'm about to lose my apartment. I need help now, this week. He pushed off from the counter and headed toward the stairs. Then he stopped and turned back. Don't be selfish, Kara. Family first. That's how we were raised. He stumbled up the stairs, leaving me alone in the kitchen with my fury and my shattered illusions. Family first. They'd used that phrase my entire life. When Tyler needed something, family first. When I needed something, I needed to be more independent. I looked at my phone, at the banking apps, showing my new accounts, my money finally safe. They had no idea what was coming. They thought I'd just hand it over. Thought I was still that compliant little girl who never caused problems. They were about to find out exactly how wrong they were. I didn't sleep. I lay in my childhood bed, staring at the glow in the dark stars I'd stuck to the ceiling when I was 12, and watched the hours crawl by. 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. At 6:30, I heard my parents' alarm go off. The familiar sounds of their morning routine started. Shower running, coffee maker gurgling downstairs, the Today Show playing on the kitchen TV. Normal. Everything so completely normal, like they weren't planning to rob their own daughter. I waited until 7 before I got up, showered, dressed, packed my bag with everything I'd brought for the week-long visit. Then I added everything else I cared about from my room. My high school yearbooks, some photos, a jewelry box Grandma had given me. I took one last look at the room. Pink walls. I'd begged Mom to let me paint when I was 14. The desk where I'd written my college essays, the window seat where I'd read hundreds of books. This had been my safe place once. Now it just felt like a trap I was escaping. I carried my bags downstairs. Mom was at the stove, making pancakes. Dad sat at the table with his newspaper and coffee. Tyler was still asleep upstairs, sleeping off his hangover. A perfect family breakfast scene. Morning, sweetie. Mom's voice was bright, cheerful. I'm making your favorite blueberry pancakes. They hadn't been my favorite since I was 10, but Shed never bothered to notice. Morning, I said, setting my bags by the door. Dad looked up from his paper, frowning at the luggage. Going somewhere. Work, emergency? I said, keeping my voice casual. Big client presentation got moved up. I have to head back today. Mom's face fell in what looked like genuine disappointment. She was good at this. But you were staying through Sunday. That's 4 more days. I know. I'm really sorry. I sat down at the table, accepted the orange juice Mom poured for me, played the role. I tried to get out of it, but this client is huge. If we land them, it's a major promotion for me. Can't someone else handle it? Mom slid a plate of pancakes in front of me. They smelled good. They looked perfect. And I felt like I'd choke if I tried to eat them. Not really. It's my account, my presentation. I cut into the pancakes, moving food around my plate. I'll make it up to you at Christmas. Dad had set down his newspaper. He was watching me carefully. Kara, before you go, we need to have a family discussion. It's important. Here it was. They were going to try to have the conversation now, before I could leave. What about? I asked. Even though I knew exactly what about, it's about your brother. Hez going through a difficult time, and as a family, we need to support him. Is Tyler okay? I made my voice concerned. Is he sick? No, nothing like that. Mom sat down across from me, her hands folded in that way she did when she was about to ask for something. Hez having some financial troubles. And your father and I think you should help him. Not would you consider helping. Not we'd like to ask you. Just you should help him. A statement of fact. Financial troubles. I took a sip of orange juice. What happened? Dad jumped in. Some investments didn't pan out. His divorce was expensive. Hez behind on rent. You know how it is. I did know how it was. Tyler was irresponsible with money, and always had been. But that wasn't what they wanted to hear. That's rough, I said neutrally. So we were thinking, Mom continued, her voice warm and reasonable, that you could help him out, from your trust fund, just enough to get him back on his feet. How much were you thinking? I asked. Mom and Dad exchanged a glance. They'd clearly discussed this, probably had a whole script planned. 30,000 would make a real difference, Dad said. It would cover his debts, get him caught up on rent, and give him a cushion to find a better job. $30,000. Nearly 2/3 of what Grandma had left me. That's a lot of money, I said slowly. It is, Mom agreed. But you have it, and Tyler doesn't. That's what family does. We help each other. I worked hard for my savings, I pointed out, and we're very proud of you for that. Dad's tone was patronizing, like he was talking to a child. But you're financially stable. You have a good job, no debts, a nice nest egg. Tyler needs help. You don't. It's about being fair. There was that word again. Fair. Does Tyler know you're asking me this? We discussed it as a family, Mom said, which meant yes. Hez embarrassed to ask directly. You know how pride can be. Tyler had pride? That was news to me. I set down my fork. I need to think about it. Dad's expression shifted. Less friendly. More firm. Kara, this isn't really something that requires much thought. It's family. You help family. I understand that, Dad. But $30,000 is a significant amount of money. I need time to think it through. Time. Mom's voice rose slightly. Your brother is about to be evicted. He doesn't have time. And there it was. The guilt. The pressure. The expectation that I'd just fold. Then maybe Tyler should have thought about that before making bad investments, I said quietly. The temperature in the kitchen dropped about 20 degrees. Excuse me. Dad's voice was sharp. I said maybe Tyler should have been more responsible with his money. I met his eyes. Hez 32 years old. Hez an adult. His financial problems are his own. That's a terrible thing to say about your brother. Mom looked genuinely hurt. She was very good at that. It's the truth, Mom. Tyler has never been responsible with money. You know that. I know that. And giving him $30,000 isn't going to change that. He'll burn through it and be right back where he started in 6 months. You don't know that, Dad said. Yes, I do. How many times have you given him money? How many times have you bailed him out? And has it ever made a lasting difference? They had no answer for that because we all knew the truth. This is different, Mom finally said. This is his chance to really start over. No, I said, standing up. This is his chance to avoid consequences again. And I'm not funding that. I'm sorry Tyler's struggling, but my answer is no. Dad stood too, his face flushing red. You're being incredibly selfish right now. I'm being realistic. That money was meant for family emergencies. Tyler's poor life choices aren't an emergency. Kara Margaret Whitmore, you watch your tone. Mom's voice had gone cold. My tone. I felt anger surging up, hot and bright. You want to talk about tone? How about the tone Dad used last night when he told Tyler he'd just take my money, whether I agreed or not? The silence was deafening. Mom's face went pale. Dad's went red. What are you talking about? Mom's voice shook. I heard you, I said, looking directly at Dad. Last night, outside your study, you told Tyler not to worry, that you'd make me pay for everything, that if I said no, you'd take it anyway because you're on my accounts. Dad's jaw tightened. You were eavesdropping. I was walking by. You were plotting to steal from me. That's not what that was, Mom said quickly. You misunderstood, did I? Then explain it to me. Explain how well take it anyway isn't theft. Neither of them had an explanation. I'm leaving, I said, grabbing my bags. And don't bother trying to access my accounts. I moved everything last night, every single penny, to a bank you're not on. You can't touch it, Mom gasped. You what? I protected myself, like I should have done years ago. You had no right. Dad's voice was loud now, angry. Those accounts were set up for your protection. We're your parents, and you were planning to rob me. Parents don't do that. We weren't robbing you. We were helping family. Without my permission. That's called theft, Dad. The yelling had woken Tyler. He appeared at the bottom of the stairs, confused and hungover. What's going on? Your sister has decided to be selfish and cruel, Mom said, her voice breaking. She was crying now. Real tears. I almost felt bad until I remembered the email draft on her computer. What? Tyler looked at me. I'm not giving you my money, Tyler. That's what's happening. His face darkened. Are you kidding me right now? I'm your brother, and you're a grown man who needs to figure out his own life. I'm about to be homeless. Then get a job. Any job. Stop waiting for your dream opportunity and take what's available. You don't understand what I've been through. You're right. I don't. Because I've never been unemployed. I've never mooched off my parents. I've never expected someone else to fix my problems. Tyler took a step toward me, his fists clenched. You selfish bitch. Dad moved between us. That's enough, both of you. No, Dad, it's not enough. I looked at all three of them. Do you know what the worst part is? It's not the money. It's that you think you're entitled to it. It's that you think stealing from me is justified because it's for Tyler. It's that my entire life, you've chosen him over me, and you don't even see it. That's not true, Mom whispered. It is true. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done being the responsible one. I'm done being the backup plan. I'm done setting myself on fire to keep Tyler warm. I headed for the door. If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back, Dad said. I turned back. Don't worry. I won't. I walked out into the morning sunlight, threw my bags in my car, and drove away from my childhood home, watching it disappear in my rearview mirror. My phone started ringing before I hit the highway. Mom, Dad, Tyler, over and over. I turned it off and kept driving. I made it about 10 miles before I had to pull over. They were my family. Maybe Id overreacted. Maybe I should go back. Maybe we could work this out. Then I saw one more message from an email address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Your credit card statement." I opened it. It was a forward from Tyler's email. He'd sent it to himself months ago. It was the statement for that credit card they'd opened in my name, the one with $9,000 on it. The charges were all Tyler's. Restaurants, bars, online shopping, a weekend trip to Vegas, all on my credit, all racking up interest, all destroying my credit score. The guilt evaporated. I saved the email, screenshot everything. Then I kept driving. By the time I got back to my apartment, 7 hours later, I had 31 missed calls and 42 text messages. I ignored all of them. I walked into my apartment, locked the door behind me, and for the first time in 24 hours, I felt safe. My apartment was small, a one-bedroom in a complex that was nothing fancy, but it was mine. I'd furnished it myself, decorated it myself, paid for it myself. No one could take it from me. I made myself eat something, shower, try to relax. But my mind wouldn't stop racing. What happened now? Would they try to come after me legally? Did they have any grounds? Would they turn the whole family against me? I needed help, professional help. I Googled lawyer for identity theft and found a firm that specialized in financial fraud. I called them first thing Monday morning. The lawyer's name was Patricia Chen. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes. "So let me make sure I understand," she said when I finished. "Your parents were joint holders on your accounts and were planning to take your money without permission. You overheard this, moved your money, and discovered they'd also opened credit cards in your name without your knowledge or consent." "Yes." "How many credit cards?" "At least one that I know of. But I only checked once. There might be more. We need to pull your full credit report. The official one. Not just what the apps show you. If there's one card, there might be others." That thought made me feel sick. "Okay, and you have proof of the conversation where they discussed taking your money?" "I have a recording. I started recording on my phone after I heard them through the door. It's not great quality, but you can hear them." "Good. That helps. And this email draft from your mother?" "I have screenshots." "Even better." Patricia made more notes. "Kara, I'm going to be straight with you. What your parents did is illegal. Identity theft is a serious crime. Opening credit accounts in someone else's name is fraud. If you want to pursue this, you can file criminal charges. Against my parents." My voice cracked. "Against whoever committed the fraud. If it was your parents, yes. If it was your brother using information they provided, then against all of them." I sat with that for a moment. Criminal charges. Against my family? What if I just want them to leave me alone? Then we send cease and desist letters. We make it clear that any further contact constitutes harassment. We file reports with the credit bureaus to dispute the fraudulent accounts. We document everything, in case they try to sue you for the money they think they're entitled to. Can they sue me? They can try. They won't win. You have no legal obligation to give them your money. But people sue for all kinds of things. It's better to be prepared. We talked for another hour. By the end, Id agreed to let her handle everything. It cost me $2,000 up front, but it was worth it, for the peace of mind. The next 2 weeks were a special kind of hell. The calls didn't stop. When I blocked their numbers, they called from other phones. When I blocked those, they started leaving voicemails on my work phone. When I told my boss what was happening and asked her to screen my calls, they sent emails to my work email. Mom's emails were masterpieces of manipulation. I can't eat. I can't sleep. How can you do this to your own mother? I gave birth to you. I raised you. And this is how you repay me. No one wanted to hear it, except for one person. 2 weeks after I left, I got a call from an unknown number. Usually, I didn't answer those anymore, but something made me pick up. Hello, Kara? It's Aunt Dorothy, Dad's older sister, the family matriarch, the one everyone listened to. My heart sank. Hi, Aunt Dorothy. I need to talk to you about this situation with your parents. Here it comes, I thought, the guilt trip from the person whose opinion actually mattered. Okay, I said tiredly. Your father called me, asked me for money, said Tyler needed help and you'd refused to give it, so the family needed to step up. That's one way to tell it, I said carefully. Is it the true way? I paused. No, I didn't think so. Your father sounded desperate. Too desperate for a simple family disagreement. So I started asking questions. Asked your mom. Asked Tyler. Told him he needs to make this right with you. How'd he take that? Not well, but that's his problem. Kara, I want you to know something. I've talked to some other family members. Your cousin Rachel, your Uncle Jim, my sister Diane. We've compared notes. Tyler has borrowed money from half the family and never paid anyone back. Your parents have been making excuses for him for years. We were all too polite to say anything, but we're saying it now. What do you mean? I mean you're not alone. And if your parents try to turn the family against you, they're going to find it doesn't work the way they think it will. Some of us see exactly what's happening. I started crying then. Couldn't help it. Thank you. Don't thank me. I should have stood up for you sooner. But I'm standing up now. And Kara? Don't. You dare give them that money. You worked for it. You earned it. It's yours. Your grandmother wanted you to have it. Honor that. We talked for another 20 minutes. By the end, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The family wasn't unanimous against me. Some people saw the truth. Some people were on my side. It wasn't everyone, but it was enough. The harassment continued, but I was getting better at ignoring it. Patricia sent cease and desist letters. We filed fraud reports. We documented everything. And then, 3 weeks after I left, something happened that changed everything. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me. Hello, is this Kara Whitmore? A man's voice I didn't recognize. Yes, this is Detective Morrison with the County Fraud Division. I'm calling about a credit card fraud case that's been flagged in our system. Your name came up as the victim. Do you have a few minutes to talk? I talked to Detective Morrison for 45 minutes. He was professional, thorough, and surprisingly sympathetic when I explained that the fraud had been committed by my family. Unfortunately, we see this a lot, he said. Family members think they're entitled to access someone's credit because they're related. But the law is clear. If you didn't authorize it, it's fraud. Plain and simple. He asked me to come down to the station to give a formal statement. I went the next day, bringing all my documentation. The emails, the recordings, the credit reports, everything. This is a solid case, Detective Morrison said, reviewing my evidence. Well, need to investigate, interview the other parties involved, but based on what you're showing me, charges are likely. Charges. My stomach dropped even though I'd known this was a possibility. Credit card fraud, identity theft, possibly conspiracy depending on who knew what when. These are serious crimes, Miss Whitmore. They're my parents, I whispered. I understand that makes this difficult, but they're also criminals who stole your identity and damaged your credit. You're not doing this to them. They did this to themselves. I nodded, but it didn't make it easier. 2 days later, Tyler was arrested. I found out because my phone exploded with angry messages. From Mom, they arrested your brother, your own brother. Are you happy now? Are you satisfied? From Dad, this is your fault. You called the police on your own family. What kind of monster are you? From Tyler himself, from a strange number. I hope you can live with yourself. I'm in jail because of you. I called Patricia immediately. It's not because of you, she said firmly. It's because he committed fraud. They arrested him because the evidence is clear. He opened 3 credit cards in your name without permission. That's a crime. 3. Id thought it was 1. 3. Didn't you see the full credit report I sent over? I pulled it up. She was right. 3 different cards. Total debt, $23,462. All in my name. All ruining my credit. $23,000 Tyler had spent on God knows what. While I was carefully saving every penny, he was living large on my credit. The anger I'd been trying to suppress roared back to life. What happens now? I asked Patricia. Now he faces consequences. If convicted, he's looking at probation at minimum, possibly jail time. Restitution for sure. Your parents might face charges as accessories if the investigation shows they knew about it. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt sick. The harassment escalated. Now it wasn't just calls and texts. They showed up. I came home from work on a Friday, 3 weeks after Tyler's arrest, to find him sitting outside my apartment building. He wasn't supposed to be out. Apparently, Head made bail. He stood up when he saw me. He looked terrible. Thinner, older, defeated. Kara, we need to talk. No, we don't. You need to leave. Please, just 5 minutes. No yelling, no fighting, just talk. Against my better judgment, I stopped, but I didn't get any closer. You have 2 minutes. Talk. I'm sorry, he said. I messed up. I know that. The credit cards were wrong. I shouldn't have done it. You're sorry because you got caught. No, I'm sorry because I hurt you. Because I took advantage. Because I was selfish. He ran his hand through his hair. One of my neighbors peeked out, concerned. Everything okay, Kara? Yes, I said quickly. Tyler was just leaving. Actually, am not. Not until you agree to drop the charges. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone. Go ahead, call them. Tell them you're having your own brother arrested. That'll look great. I dialed 911. Tyler's face changed. You're seriously doing this? Yes, you were asked to leave. You refused. That's trespassing. I'm not on your property. I'm on a public sidewalk. 911. What's your emergency? The operator's voice came through my phone. Hi. I have someone who's refusing to leave my building, has harassing me, and won't go when asked. Tyler's eyes went wide. You're actually doing this? Yes, I'm actually doing this. He backed away, hands up. Fine. Fine. I'm leaving. You win, Kara. You happy? You destroyed your family, and you win. I didn't destroy anything. You did. I gave my address to the operator, described Tyler, explained the situation. By the time the police arrived, Tyler was gone. But they took a report. They gave me information about restraining orders. They took pictures of Tyler's car that was still parked down the street, proving He'd been there. This is escalating, the officer said. You need to protect yourself legally. Get a restraining order. I did. The next week, I filed for a temporary restraining order against Tyler. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. My parents were furious. Mom left a voicemail that was more scream than words. Dad sent an email threatening to disown me. Like that was supposed to hurt after everything they'd done. Work became complicated too. Somehow, Mom got my boss' email address. She sent a long, detailed message about what a terrible daughter I was, how I'd abandoned my family in their time of need, how I'd had my own brother arrested over a simple misunderstanding. My boss called me into her office. Kara, I got a very strange email from someone claiming to be your mother. I closed my eyes. I'm so sorry. I'll handle it. Is everything okay? This seems serious, I explained. Not everything, but enough. The trust fund, the planned theft, the credit card fraud, the harassment. To her credit, my boss was supportive. That's a lot to deal with. If you need some time off, we can arrange it. I don't need time off. I need them to leave me alone. Well, I've blocked the email address and flagged any future emails from that domain. They won't be able to contact anyone here again. And Kara? What you're going through. That takes courage. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for protecting yourself. That kindness almost broke me. I managed to hold it together until I got back to my desk, then cried in the bathroom for 15 minutes. That night, I made a decision. I couldn't keep living like this, looking over my shoulder, jumping at every phone call, afraid to go home in case they were waiting. I called Patricia. I want a restraining order against all of them. Mom, Dad, and Tyler. Can I do that, based on the harassment you've documented? Yes. It's absolutely justified. We filed the paperwork the next day. The court date arrived. I sat in a courtroom, facing my family across an aisle that felt like the Grand Canyon. Mom was crying. Dad looked furious. Tyler looked smug, like he thought this was all going to blow over. The judge reviewed the evidence. The emails, the voicemails, the credit reports. No, honey. It's the bravest thing you've ever done. You're protecting yourself. That's not wrong. That's survival. I hugged her back and let myself cry. The restraining order changed everything. The harassment stopped immediately. No more calls, no more emails, no more surprise visits. For the first time in 2 months, I could breathe. But the legal situation was far from over. Patricia kept me updated on Tyler's case. Had been formally charged with 3 counts of identity theft and credit card fraud. The prosecutor was pushing for jail time because Head stolen over $20,000 and shown no remorse. Your parents are also under investigation, Patricia told me during one of our regular check-ins. The bank flagged their account. Turns out they'd been making small transfers from your old accounts for years before you moved the money. Small enough that you probably wouldn't notice, but large enough to add up. We're talking thousands of dollars over the past 5 years. I felt dizzy. How much? The bank is still calculating, but preliminary estimates are around $38,000 total. $38,000. Stolen from me over 5 years. That's why my savings had always seemed to grow slower than I thought it should. It blamed lifestyle creep, unexpected expenses, being bad at budgeting. But it was theft. Just slow, careful theft. They might face charges too, Patricia said. The district attorney is deciding whether to prosecute. Will I have to testify? Possibly. Are you okay with that? Was I? Could I sit in a courtroom and testify against my own parents? Yes, I said. If it stops them from doing this to someone else, yes. At work, things were improving. Despite the drama, I'd been throwing myself into my projects. I landed a major client I'd been courting for 6 months, a tech company looking to rebrand, with a budget of $200,000. It was the biggest account our small marketing firm had ever landed, and it was mine. My boss promoted me to senior marketing manager. The raise was significant. $20,000 more per year. You've earned this, she said when she told me. Your work has been exemplary, especially given what you've been dealing with personally. You're exactly the kind of employee we want to invest in. I cried in her office. Happy tears this time. For the first time since this nightmare started, things were looking up. I was succeeding at work. I was safe at home. The legal system was working. And then, my family started to crumble. Aunt Dorothy called me one evening. Your father called me again. He was asking for money. When I asked why, he accidentally let something slip. What? They're broke, Kara. Completely broke. They've been living beyond their means for years, constantly bailing Tyler out. Their mortgage is behind. They have credit card debt of their own. Your father told me they were counting on your trust fund money to get them out of the hole. When you moved it, their whole house of cards started collapsing. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt sad. So the plan was to steal from me to cover their own debts, apparently, and now that the bank is investigating them for the transfers they made from your accounts, they're facing fraud charges too. They might have to sell the house. The house I grew up in? The house with my childhood bedroom and the kitchen where Mom made pancakes and the backyard where Dad taught Tyler to throw a football but never taught me because I was too small. I'm sorry, Aunt Dorothy said. I know this is hard. They did it to themselves, I said, but my voice shook. Tyler's trial date was set for 3 months out, but 2 weeks before trial, his lawyer called Patricia. He wants to plead guilty, Patricia told me. Avoid trial. Get a better sentence recommendation. But there's a condition. What condition? He wants to meet with you, apologize in person. His lawyer thinks it'll look better to the judge if he shows remorse and makes amends. Absolutely not. I told them you'd say that. But Kara, there's something else. If he pleads guilty, he has to pay restitution. All of it. The full $23,000 plus interest and fees. And his lawyer says he wants to commit to a payment plan. $23,000. It wouldn't fix the years of damaged credit, but it would help. I don't have to meet with him for that, do I? No. Restitution is part of the sentence. You don't have to negotiate. Then no meeting. He can pay the restitution. He can plead guilty. But I don't want to see him. Tyler pled guilty the following week. He was sentenced to 2 years probation, 500 hours of community service, mandatory financial counseling, and full restitution. If he violated probation or failed to pay, he'd serve 2 years in jail. My parents were offered a plea deal too. They could plead guilty to a lesser charge, pay back what they'd taken, plus penalties, and serve probation. Or they could fight it and risk serious jail time. They took the plea. The restitution amount, after the forensic accountants finished calculating, was $41,732. They had to sell the house to pay it. I heard through Aunt Dorothy that they'd downsized to a 2-bedroom condo in a less expensive area. Dad had come out of retirement to work part-time at an insurance office. Mom had gotten a job at a department store. For the first time in their lives, they were living within their means. Not by choice, but still. As for me, I was thriving. I moved to a better apartment. Nothing extravagant, but nicer, safer. A place that felt like a fresh start. I started therapy to process everything. Dr. Martinez was patient and insightful, helping me understand that protecting myself wasn't selfish, that family should be a source of support rather than exploitation, that I deserved relationships based on mutual respect. I started dating someone. His name was James, and he came from a healthy family that actually liked each other and didn't steal from each other. Watching his family interact was like visiting another planet. They asked how each other's days went and actually listened to the answers. They helped each other out without resentment. They had boundaries. Is this what normal looks like? I asked James after a dinner with his parents. I guess so, he said. Is your family really that different? My family is currently paying court-ordered restitution for stealing from me, so yes, pretty different. Had been supportive throughout everything. Never pushed, never judged, just stood beside me. 6 months after the restraining order was granted, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text, an actual letter in the mail. The return address was my parents' new condo. I almost threw it away without opening it. But something made me curious. Inside was a handwritten letter from my mother. Her handwriting was shaky, like shed started and stopped multiple times. Dear Kara, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even deserve it, but I need you to know that losing you has taught me what I should have learned years ago. I enabled your brother and betrayed you. I chose comfort over character. I chose the easy path of giving Tyler everything instead of teaching him to stand on his own. Your father and I are in therapy now. Tyler is too. We're trying to understand how we became people who would steal from our own daughter. The therapist asked me when I stopped seeing you as a person and started seeing you as a resource. I didn't have an answer. I don't know when it happened, but it did happen, and I'm horrified by it. I'm proud of you for standing up to us. You became the person we should have raised both our children to be. Strong, independent, principled. You learned those things despite us, not because of us. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you don't, I understand. I love you, and I'm sorry. Mom, I read it 3 times. Then I set it aside and didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I wasn't ready. Maybe E'd never be ready, and that was okay. 3 weeks later, I got another letter, this one from Tyler. Kara, I'm writing this as part of my counseling. My therapist says I need to make amends, and she says that means being honest, not just apologizing. So here's the truth. I was jealous of you. Always have been. You made everything look easy. Good grades, good job, good life. And I couldn't figure out how to do any of it. Instead of working harder, I resented you. And when Mom and Dad kept bailing me out, I felt entitled to it. Entitled to your money, too. That was wrong. You don't owe me anything. You never did. You're my sister, not my bank account. I'm working now, retail job at a bank, which is ironic given what I did. I'm paying you back, $50 at a time. It's going to take years, but I'll do it. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I finally get it. I finally understand what I did to you. And I'm sorry. Tyler, I set that letter aside too. Then I got a call from Aunt Dorothy. Kara, I know you're not in contact with your parents, and I respect that, but I thought you should know something. Your mother had a health scare last week. They thought it might be her heart. Turned out to be a panic attack. But it scared her. Really scared her. She asked me to tell you that she understands if you never want to see her again. But if you ever do, she's here. No expectations, no demands, just here. I thanked Aunt Dorothy and hung up. That night, I talked to Dr. Martinez about it. They're trying to change. Should I give them another chance? That's not a question I can answer for you, she said. But I can ask you this. What do you need to be safe? What do you need to protect yourself? And can they meet those needs? I thought about it for a long time. Finally, I sat down and wrote a letter of my own. Mom, Dad, and Tyler, I got your letters. I appreciate the apologies and the acknowledgement of what you did. I'm not ready to rebuild our relationship. I might never be ready. But I'm willing to leave the door open a crack. If you want to send occasional updates, I'll read them. If something important happens, you can contact me through Aunt Dorothy. But I need time. Years, probably. Maybe forever. I hope you all get the help you need. I hope you learn to be better people. But I can't be part of that process. I have to focus on my own healing. Take care of yourselves. Kara, I sent it. Then I let it go. A year passed. Then another. Tyler kept paying restitution. $50 every 2 weeks. Like clockwork. I put it into an investment account and tried not to think too hard about where it came from. My parents sold the house and adjusted to their new life. Aunt Dorothy kept me updated. They were working, going to therapy, learning to live within their means. We never spoke directly. Sometimes Mom would send a card for my birthday. Always simple, never manipulative. Just, happy birthday. We hope you're well. I appreciated that, the lack of pressure, the respect for my boundaries. Tyler got a promotion at the bank. Apparently, having experience with fraud made him good at spotting it in others. He was working his way up, slowly building a real career. I hoped it stuck this time, for his sake, not mine. As for me, I was building a life I loved. James and I moved in together. Not because it made financial sense, but because we wanted to. Because being around him felt like home, in a way my actual home never had. Work continued to go well. I made senior director. My team grew. The clients kept coming. I was good at what I did, and I was finally being recognized for it. The money I'd saved, all $70,000 plus my regular savings, was invested wisely. It was growing, building security, creating options. I bought a small house, nothing fancy, but it was mine. 2 bedrooms, a little yard, space to breathe. For the first time in my life, I felt settled. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was mine. Built by me, protected by me, chosen by me. 2 years after the restraining order was granted, I got an unexpected phone call from Aunt Dorothy. "Kara, your mother asked me to reach out. She wants to know if you'd be willing to meet. Just coffee. Just the 2 of you. No pressure, no expectations. She has something she wants to give you. What is it?" She didn't say, but she was very clear that if you say no, she'll understand. I thought about it for a week. Talked to Dr. Martinez. Talked to James. Talked to myself in the mirror at 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep. Finally, I said yes. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our cities, neutral ground. Mom looked older, smaller, like the past 2 years had taken something essential from her. But she also looked calmer, more grounded. "Thank you for coming," she said, her hands wrapped around her coffee cup like she needed something to hold on to. "What did you want to give me?" I asked, not ready for small talk. She pulled an envelope from her purse. "This. I've been carrying it for 6 months, hoping I'd get a chance to give it to you." I opened it. Inside was a check for $41,732. The exact amount of the restitution. "What is this? Your father and I paid it back through the court, but we wanted you to have it directly." "All of it. It's what we stole, what we took, what we had no right to. We sold the house, paid off our debts, and this is what was left. It's yours." I stared at the check. "You didn't have to do this. The court already handled it." We did have to, because giving it back through the legal system felt like we were just following orders. We needed to give it to you ourselves, to acknowledge what we did, to try to make it right, even though we know we can't really make it right. I set the check on the table between us. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know that we're trying. Really trying. Your father is working full-time now. I'm working. We're living within our means for the first time in 30 years, and we're trying to understand how we got so lost." "How's Tyler?" I asked. "Better. Hez still paying his restitution to you. Still working at the bank. Hez dating someone, actually. Someone who doesn't let him get away with his nonsense. She's good for him. That's good." We sat in silence for a moment. "Kara, I'm not asking you to forgive us. Hello. I'm delighted to assist you with our voice services. Choose a voice that resonates with you, and let's begin our creative audio journey together. Maybe a donation to a charity that helps people escape family financial abuse." I hadn't decided yet. What I had decided was this. I was done carrying the weight of their mistakes, done feeling guilty for protecting myself, done apologizing for having boundaries. People ask me now if I regret what I did, if I regret losing my family over money. But they don't understand. It was never about the money. It was about respect. It was about boundaries. It was about refusing to be the family scapegoat anymore. I learned that real love doesn't manipulate. Real family doesn't exploit. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. I also learned that standing up for yourself might cost you relationships, but staying silent costs you yourself. And I'd rather lose them than lose me. My grandmother knew what she was doing when she left me that trust fund. It wasn't just money. It was a test. Would I have the strength to keep what was mine? Would I value myself enough to say no, I passed her test. And in doing so, I saved myself. Today, I'm building a life based on integrity, not obligation. I surround myself with people who value me, not what I can give them. James and I are talking about getting married. His family will be my family, and they already treat me better than my own ever did. Aunt Dorothy has Thanksgiving at her house now, and she's invited me. A new family tradition with people who actually value me. People who see me as more than a bank account or a safety net. I sleep peacefully now, knowing I stood up for the woman in becoming. To anyone listening to this who's in a similar situation, I want you to hear this. Your resources, your time, your money, your energy, your love are yours to give, not for others to take. Family is supposed to be a blessing, not a burden. And if they can't see your worth, that's their loss, not yours. Stand firm, protect yourself, and never apologize for refusing to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. That's the real inheritance my grandmother left me. Not the money, though that helped. The real gift was the knowledge that I'm worth fighting for. And so are you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who felt entitled to your resources or your life? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's struggling with the same thing. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps other people who need to hear this message find it. And subscribe to the channel for more real stories about standing up for yourself and building the life you deserve. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to protect themselves, even from family. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is say no. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives you strength to stand up for yourself, to value yourself, and to know that you deserve relationships built on respect, not exploitation. Take care of yourselves out there. You're worth it.